Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the brand new Realme 9 Pro and the Realme 9 Pro Plus. Both of these devices were just announced by Realme, and of course, they feature very unique experiences in the mid-range experience. One of them is actually a very unique back cover on the 9 Pro Plus, as well as the ability of having the IMX766 image processor on it with OIS on a mid-range device. This is TK. Let's go ahead and check out all of the new features and the cool things about the brand new Realme 9 Pro and the 9 Pro Plus. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So this is what we have here as far as the packaging for both the 9 Pro and the 9 Pro Plus. The one thing to mention is that the 9 Pro Plus is the one with the color changing option that we have here on the back. We have a Super Dart here, the 66 watt charger, or the 60 watt charger, sorry, with the USB Type A, USB Type C here connected to the back to be able to data charge, and of course be able to top off the 4500 milliampere battery that we have in here. As far as the actual 9 Pro, it's a little bit different actually. It has a 5000 milliampere battery. It is supported with a 33 watt charger that is included in the box, as well as a USB Type A, USB Type C. Both of them are featuring different technologies. We have the Dimensity chipset here, the 920 Dimensity SoC, as opposed to the Snapdragon 695 SoC here on the side. Both of them are powered to support 5G in specific markets, so depending on the market that you're in, make sure that it works for you, of course, to make sure to be able to get the best experience. So here's a quick recap of some of the main features that we have on the back of the box. On the Pro Plus, we have a IMX766, and it's going to be with OIS, that's the primary sensor, the Dimensity 920 5G processor, 90 Hz refresh rate, 1080p OLED panel, 60 watt Super Dart charger included in the box. On the Realme 9 Pro, it's going to be the Snapdragon 695, as I mentioned to you guys. We are able to go all the way up to 120 Hz on that one, 5000 milliampere battery, and of course 64 megapixel nightscape camera. That's going to be the primary sensor on the Pro. One thing you'll notice that both devices share very similar aesthetics on the back, with the difference in the material. And of course, both of them are featuring a headphone jack on the bottom, USB-C, and of course a bottom firing speaker. On the left side, we have a power button. On the Realme 9 Pro here, we have a power button / fingerprint sensor in the same part. Here on the Realme Pro Plus, we have a power button because the fingerprint sensor is built into the display. On the left side, we have a volume rocker and of course a dedicated SIM tray for 2 SIM cards, as well as a memory card to be able to add that to this. You are able to expand the memory on this device. On the top, we have just basically one of the microphones capable of obviously supporting the camera on the back. And of course, on the back, we have slightly different camera stack here. On the Realme Pro Plus, it's going to be 50 megapixel. That's the IMX766 with OIS as the main sensor. We have an 8 megapixel. It's going to be the ultra wide. It's going to be a 2 megapixel last, but it's a depth sensor. So essentially an ultra wide and a main camera sensor. On the front, we have a 16 megapixel sensor, and that's going to be our main sensor on the front, capable of 1080p and 4K 30 on the main sensors on the back. As far as the Realme 9 Pro, what we have here is the primary sensor is a 64 megapixel sensor, an 8 megapixel ultra wide with a 2 megapixel depth sensor. So again, a main sensor and an ultra wide. And on the front, similar 16 megapixel camera, 4K 30 on the back, 1080p on the front. So when we look at both of these devices, we'll notice that the actual display is slightly different. On the 9 Pro Plus, we have a 6.4-inch display, 90 Hz, and this is running basically a 1080p resolution. On the 9 Pro, we have a 1080p resolution, but this is a 6.6-inch display, so slightly bigger, at 120 Hz, and again, still 1080p resolution. So overall, 1080p on both, 120 on the Pro and 90 Hz on the Pro Plus. Both of them are AMOLED or Super AMOLED technology. And of course, they're both going to be able to give you great viewing angles, as again, large batteries will support them and give you great experiences. When it comes down to the software experience, both of them are running the Realme UI 3.0 on top of Android 12, which is really, really nice. So we're definitely seeing Android 12 coming out of the box with them both. Again, Realme UI version 3.0. Now, both of them are featuring 8 gigabytes of RAM, but both of them feature that new option that we get directly within Realme UI that enables us to use the page file system. So basically using 5 gigabytes of the internal storage to add more RAM into the system. The Dimensity 920 is powering the 9 Pro Plus, and of course we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 695 here. Basically comparable experiences from both Qualcomm and MediaTek featuring 5G. The model number on the Pro Plus is the RMX 3393. And of course on the Pro is RMX 3472. Now when it comes down to Geekbench scores, I'm pretty sure you guys want to see where do they stack up. Of course the Pro Plus definitely does have a slightly better processor. At the Dimensity 920 is a little bit more powerful than the 695. Again, both capable of providing us 5G technologies, but again, just more of a comparison apples to apples. On a Geekbench score, you're able to see why the Pro Plus is definitely considered to be that. Also, one thing to keep in mind, even though technically it's a smaller display, it does actually feel very similar in the hand for both of them. Now, since both of them feature Realme UI, you can pretty much expect very similar experiences. Your ability to customize the Wi-Fi, mobile network, Bluetooth, connectivity. Both of them do support NFC. Both of them do have a headphone jack, but not both of them have stereo speakers. We have stereo speakers on the Pro Plus and mono speaker, bottom firing speaker here on the Pro. The other thing I also want to mention, part of Android 12 and of course the customizations that we get, gives us the ability of actually customizing our wallpaper with the wallpaper color picker. This is something that was developed that allows us to actually change the placement of the color and change the actual tone of the actual color customizations on the top based on the wallpaper that we set. So you can customize it every single time and then change it, and it is built in. You can either pick it from the selections that they give you, custom color, or base it directly on your wallpaper, and it works very nicely. But you'll notice there's a few differences as far as the different experiences here. Because the fingerprint sensor is in the power button, we don't have a way of changing it, although on the Pro Plus we can. So fingerprint animation, edge lighting is present here. We do have edge lighting in here, but we don't have a way of customizing it because I have seen it turn on with some notifications. Otherwise, we have wallpapers always on display, and that's pretty much standard there. Icons, and of course, quick setting. And here we'll see that there's a missing section for always on display. Again, I think this is pretty much just fitting into the experiences that we're getting with the Pro and the Pro Plus. Next, we have obviously home and icon screen. This is going to be the customizations there. Brightness levels, you can go in there, change the dark mode. I have already turned those on both of them. Obviously, we have the video color enhancer, of course. Last but not least, screen refresh rate will jump into the bottom one here. Again, 90 Hertz refresh rate is going to be the maximum we're able to get on the Pro. And of course, here we're able to go all the way to 120. I'm not sure if this is something to do with the Dimensity versus the Qualcomm processor, but this is going to be how the experiences kind of fluctuate between the two. Sound and vibration, pretty much straightforward. You can go in there, customize it. We have Dolby Atmos here on the Pro Plus, and we have Real Sound Technology as the EQ customization option. So that's some of the differences in there that you have. Password and security, privacy, safety, and of course under battery we have the ability of seeing the battery usage. But one thing to mention as well is the ability of jumping into advanced settings. Now this gives us the ability of actually turning on performance mode, which runs the processor at its full potential. So if you do go in there, jump in real quick, by default it's set to be on smart performance mode, meaning if it detects a game or detects something that needs it, it will bump up to 100% with high performance. Otherwise you can actually definitely put it up there, and of course you'll get the best experience. It will consume more battery, but it definitely gives you the best experience out of the box. Just keep in mind that this is actually present directly under the battery section on your device. Next we have battery, apps, location. Now under special feature we get a little bit of a different selection as well. We have flexible window, which is something that we've seen before. So if you jump into that, that's the ability of opening up a side launcher here, and that gives you the ability of basically launching, let's say, an application in Windows. So we'll go ahead and open up My Files, and I'll go ahead and give it a second. It opens up in this format. I'll go ahead and give that here, and then of course I can close it, I can open it up, and of course customize that, and that's present on both of them. One thing to keep in mind, some of the features are unique to the hardware that's available. So quick launches is something that you can customize here with your fingerprint sensor. When you press and hold it on it for a little bit longer, you can customize the experience by changing it and adding additional apps, and it just helps it easier to launch your favorite apps quickly. Smart slider, this is something that's present on both of them. Again, you're able to open it up. It's the side slider here, turning it on from the right side. I can swipe it in here and it'll turn on. It is present also on this one. You just have to make sure to swipe it from the right section. Once you have that in there, you can open up and put in applications that open up in pop-up window. Kit space present on both, and of course simple mode. Last but not least, of course, we have system setting, about devices, where we'll be able to check our device information, and of course, and see if there's any updates that are available for both. I did receive an update for both or each one of these devices since I've received the units, and they're both running the latest global ROM version of their software available for both of these devices. Users and account, Google, legal information, and we also have this nice little section called Realme Labs, which there's a few options here that we have that are unique to each device. Both of them have the ability of doing dual mode audio, which allows us to connect to multiple Bluetooth connections at the same time, which is really nice and functional if you want to share your music. DC dimming is only available here, so you have to be able to go in there and turn that on. Of course, the ability of doing sleep capsule, which is available for both. And this is kind of like something a little bit more of a Zen situation, where it enables you to disable all the functionalities on your phone for an extended amount of time. That allows you to actually disconnect to be able to actually relax a little bit. Last but not least, one thing that is, again, one of the features that is only available in here, and that's the ability of using the fingerprint sensor as a heart rate monitor. And you're able to just leave your fingerprint on top of the fingerprint sensor, and basically the fingerprint sensor lights up and reads the actual pulses directly within your finger, enabling us to actually get basically a measurement here. And you can, of course, customize it and categorize it, and it is very, very nice. So I'll go ahead and hit cancel. I'm just going to say general, and I'll save it. And you can see here different times, and I was able to basically check my heart rate. Now on the left, we have the Google feed, as you can imagine. And of course, on the right side, we have the rest of our applications. You can customize them. I did install Pubg on both of these systems, and there are obviously different applications you'll be able to customize. And of course, we're going to definitely jump into the cameras, because I feel like this is something that a lot of us are going to appreciate heavily from these devices. Again, primary sensor, the best sensor on this device is a 50 megapixel sensor, the IMX766, and on the Pro it's going to be the 64 megapixel sensor. Under photography, we're able to see basically that there's AI that's going to be helping us take some pictures. There's video options, of course. The street mode, which is something that is unique, and I'll share with you guys a quick video about that as well. Night mode, and of course we have photo, and of course, portrait, full 50 megapixel or full 64, depending on the device that you're looking into. And of course, here we have Pro mode, panorama, ultra macro. Of course, this is using the ultra wide sensor that to be able to do the macro lens, movie, slow motion, and of course time lapse, dual view video, text scanner, and of course starry mode, which enables us to take a little bit more images of starlight, and of course tilt shift, which helps us take a little bit more creative images. One thing to mention on both of these devices is 1080p 30 frames per second is going to be the best when it comes down to video on the front facing sensors. So we'll go ahead and jump in here real quick on the front. So notice here it only goes 1080p 720, 1080p 720. So 1080p 30 is going to be the best that we're able to do. And when it comes down to the back sensors here, 4K 30 frames per second is going to be the maximum we can get here on the Pro Plus. Although on the Pro, we're pretty much stuck to 1080p on both sides. So 1080p experience all around on the Pro, and a Pro Plus can go all the way up to 4K 30 frames per second on the main sensor on the back. Starting off with the main sensor here on the brand new Realme 9 Pro. The main thing here obviously is going to be a 1080p resolution experience across all sensors, even on the main sensor on the back. This is a 600 processor series from Snapdragon, so keep in mind 4K and anything higher than 1080p unfortunately may not be available right now, but again, in the future updates, we'll definitely check that out. Overall, this is a good sample of the front-facing camera. Let's go ahead and switch over on the main sensor on the back. As I mentioned to you guys before, the Snapdragon 600 series is going to give us 1080p on the main sensor here, and this is going to be the best that we can expect out of the Realme 9 Pro. Starting off on the main sensor that we have here on the Realme 9 Pro Plus, 1080p is going to be the maximum resolution. This is typical to most devices that we've seen from Realme. I hope obviously in the future that we'll see something with maybe 4K or 4K 30 frames per second. The main sensor on the back is capable of shooting 4K, so let's go ahead and switch over there and see how the images look like from there. Now we are at 4K 30 frames per second, the maximum that the main sensor on the back is capable of providing us. Obviously, we're able to drop into other modes, but this is going to be the best images that you're able to get if you want to get the best performance out of the Realme 9 Pro Plus. Now, as I mentioned to you guys, we do have stereo speakers here on the Pro Plus, although on the Pro, we only have a bottom firing speaker. So let's go ahead and go volume 100%. On both of these devices, and we're going to play the same song, Alex Scrindo Jumbo by NCS Release, and I'm going to play the Pro Plus first, and we'll jump into the Pro after that.
Jack it up.
And now jumping into the Pro.
Jack it up.
Now, definitely the Pro Plus does sound a little bit better. The speakers on it are actually louder, and you're able to actually enjoy the music a little bit more since you're getting more of a stereo experience here. So again, not that it's a big difference, but I think it's when we're holding the device, and obviously we're holding it with our hand, the sound will definitely sound a little bit better for us. But overall, as far as the speakers, definitely the Pro Plus will definitely exceed in that department. Now, next thing we're obviously going to talk about is gaming. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about capabilities and what we get here directly within Pubg Mobile. Now, both of them are going to feature very similar experiences when it comes down to Pubg Mobile, and I'll explain by means of both of them feature the new gaming engine that we have that comes directly with Realme UI 3.0, and that was just the ability of basically swiping here from the top left. Now, this one gives us the ability of jumping in directly, show performance mode. Now, I have it directly right now under balance mode. We can jump into game mode. Now, that turns on the mode to give us full power of the processor and enables us to have the best experience. Next thing here, we have the ability of turning on game focus mode, and of course notifications. We can block those. You have the ability of turning on the screen recorder, game filters, and of course touch optimization to be able to improve the touch performance based on the fact that this is a 90 Hz refresh rate, and it'll of course kick up to the best resolution. System status gives us the ability of seeing the CPU, the frame rate, and the GPU performance, which is very nice. And of course, last but not least, is customizing here the slider for the brightness on the display. I'll give you guys a quick example here. So if we jump in directly into the settings, the best experience you're going to be able to expect from basically a gaming experience here from a graphics point is HDR Ultra with the style here on the colorful. Now for the best frame rate, you do need to drop down to smooth, and that takes you up to frame rate, which is the extreme. And by default, I like to play HDR Ultra, which gives me the best graphics as well as the best frame rate, which is a locked 40 frames per second on PUBG Mobile, and it plays very, very nice. So the big thing to notice in here is that the experience on the Pro is a little bit different than the Pro Plus. And what I mean by this is some of the features that we get here is actually maybe even better than the Pro Plus. Namely, the size of the battery. We have a 5000 milliampere battery here. We also have a slightly larger display at 120 Hz refresh rate, where on the Pro Plus, we have a slightly smaller display at 90 Hz, but it also has a 4500 milliampere battery. The technologies between the Dimensity and of course the Qualcomm here is also reflected in the price point, since technically the Dimensity 920 is a little bit better than what we get with the Qualcomm 695. Overall, the performance on both of these, there's no problem. 8 gigs of RAM supports everything. The internal storage of 128 is definitely expandable. There's different storage and capacities. You could definitely pick your favorite combination as far as your system there. Both of them have a headphone jack. Both of them have a very good long battery life because they're both running at 1080p resolution here. Now, let's talk about the cameras and let's talk about some of the performance, where it actually does show a little bit more where the IMX766 is benefiting the Pro Plus. I went to the Descanso Garden here in LA, and of course we started taking some pictures. By the way, it's the same place we took the videos that I showed you guys a little bit earlier here. So overall, we're going to start off with the 9 Pro. The camera performs quite well. Overall, in good lighting, it takes really good pictures. Ultra wide also works very nicely. And of course, the ability of just enjoying the images here are definitely very simple and very easy. Now, I do notice that some of the images are not necessarily as sharp or as colorful as they need to be, and I think this is where we start seeing the Pro Plus shine a little bit more. So when we switch over now to the Pro Plus, we'll start seeing some of those images that we see similar to the one we saw before, but now you can see the benefit of having the IMX766 here. It's a much better sensor and definitely worth the experience of going to the Pro Plus over the Pro. The images and everything kind of looks really, really nice. I love the fact that there's this new feature called the street photography, or the street mode, inside of the camera app that enables us to actually use the camera shutter button as the focus option. So we can actually focus, tilt, and do a whole bunch of customization by just shifting around the finger. And once we release our finger off the display, it actually snaps the image. And you're also able to see some focus peaking in there. As you saw, it definitely looks really, really nice. And of course, works on both the Pro and the Pro Plus. I want to say first and foremost, if you're considering getting one of these two devices, I probably would recommend you getting the Pro Plus, mostly because of the camera experience, not necessarily for the gaming. I feel like the Pro definitely fits the gaming experience much nicer. Larger battery, 120 Hz refresh rate, and I feel like that's where some of the Pro features that you're getting there. But if you're really liking photography and you really want to get some great video, as well as the ability of shooting 4K, I feel like the Pro Plus will definitely be the one that fits your experience. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of either the Pro or the Pro Plus? I know I didn't want to go say Realme 9 Pro Plus. I think the reality is between the two, it's either the Pro or the Pro Plus. And of course, I'd love to hear what you guys think about them. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for Realme for allowing me to check out both the Pro and the Pro Plus, and of course, share with you guys my experiences. I'll see you in the next video.